shelfaddiction.com, and I am here today to review Halfway to the Grave by Jeaniene. I actually listened to this book on audio instead of reading it. I do like audio when I want to fit in another book or two, like at work or on my drive home. I find it to be very convenient. It is a good way, to cram in a few extra books here and there. So, let's start with, my overall impression of the book. I was very happily pleased with the book overall. The characters were fun, witty, dynamic, interesting. They were kind of cute at times. They were kind of, at times. And, you expect all those ranges of feelings about characters at some point in the book. The theme was, the plot was good. It was constantly moving. There weren't really any lulls in the story. The action was pretty much constantly going. It had some romance, but it wasn't overkill. Being that our two main characters just met each other in this book, I like that they didn't jump right in, to a relationship with each other. They were pretty much, what you would expect if you just met someone that you think you hate, and then, the progression of becoming friends and figuring out you like them and all that stuff. That progression is in this book, which is cool. So, about the characters. In this book, our heroine is Kat. She is a half vampire who kills vampires. I don't want to get into too much of how she became half vampire in that history. It's kind of spoilerish, but she is what she is. She kills vampires, and in her midst of killing a vampire one night, she stumbles across Bones. And Bones is a vampire hunter, almost like a, what am I trying to call him? He's almost like, a bounty hunter of vampires, basically. And he hunts them down, the wrongdoers, and takes them in, kills them, brings them dead or alive for money, basically. And when she comes across him, he thinks that she is working with someone who is trying to protect the guy he's after, until he sees her kill this guy. And then he wonders, who is she working for? So pretty much their first initial confrontation was pretty violent. They fought each other. He kidnaps her, and he pretty much tries to beat out of her who she works for, what her job is, all this other stuff. And she is not understanding why he's asking her this, and basically they end up agreeing to fight. And if she wins, obviously Bones is dead and she can leave. If Bones wins, obviously she's going to give in and help him with what he needs help with. In the end, they end up working together, like the bounty hunter and the vampire killer. The vampire bounty hunter and the vampire killer work together to find this said person that Bones was after. And it's in Kat's best interest, because she wants to kill bad vampires, actually all vampires. And this bad guy is the bad guy of all bad guys. So she ends up being on board with this. They train together. He helps her learn more about killing vampires. And during this whole thing, they start getting close, and she realizes, wow, I actually like him. He's not a bad vampire. I guess all vampires aren't bad. But in the midst of all this, we also get to meet Kat's mom, who is a victim. She's scared. She's kind of has her own opinions about vampires. She's kind of closed. She's not very open-minded at all. And so she is in support of Kat killing vampires, and she hates all vampires, and she would never understand Kat being friends with a vampire, let alone anything more with a vampire. And then her, closed-minded, old-fashioned, really obnoxious grandparents, we meet them a little bit too. So, it's clear that Kat has a lot of discrimination against vampires in her family, and against anything pretty much supernatural, probably. So we can see that that's going to be an issue going forward, probably through much of this series. we do get a bit about Bones' history as well. I'm not going to really get into it, but it's clear that some bad stuff happened to Bones in the past, and there's a reason why he is what he is, you know. So Kat, you know, she's smart mouth, she's witty, she's quick on her feet with the comebacks, and Bones is kind of the old school man where he's really overbearing and bossy and kind of overprotective, trying to mark his ground, you know. You know, he's like one of those. So put them together and you can just imagine the conversations going back and forth, the smart mouth conversations on both sides, one trying to outwit the other, you know. Couple that with them fighting with each other, fighting other people, and then, you know, as the story goes on, they become more like a team, a unit, and there's not as much bickering, but there is a little bit of conflict with his, you know, chauvinistic ways or whatnot. But, you know, eventually they realize that they like each other, you know, obviously Bones before Kat, but they do like each other, and I like that actually took a minute to get to that, because there's nothing worse than insta love, I guess people have been calling it, where they see each other, oh, soulmates, and they fall into each other's arms. It was none of that crap in this book. So it was like, you know, definitely more realistic. So, you know, we go through the book, and at the end they do catch the killer, obviously, but, you know, it's a nice little cliffhanger, I guess. The way it was wrapped up, you can tell that there's going to be many more bad vampires and maybe even other supernatural creatures to be caught. You know, Kat kind of ends things where she's almost like trying to play the martyr, and I don't like that, but, you know, it was kind of expected a little bit, because at the end of the book she gets involved with this agency that hunts supernatural creatures, and she makes a deal with them so that Bones is kind of set free to work with them for a certain amount of time, and during this time she really can't be in contact with Bones. So she does this trying to save him, and pretty much, you know, hurts them both in the long run. Sorry. But anyway, what would I rate this book? I would rate this book 4 out of 5 bookmarks. It was a very good, fast-paced, and the narrator was awesome. Usually it's hit or miss with audiobooks. Either you really like the narrator or you don't like the narrator at all. Like, sometimes they can blend into the background like white noise, but this time the narrator was spot on. She had the inflections in her voice when it was needed. She seemed like she was getting excited at the appropriate times. You can tell when something serious was going on. I mean, she kept my attention while I was doing other things. So she didn't fade, you know, the book didn't fade off into the background. I was present. And, you know, I was going to listen to this book, over the course of, like, my work week. But because it was so good, I actually listened to this in 2 days instead of 5, which was my intention. So I definitely recommend the book. I recommend it on audio. This is a great book to listen to. I will be continuing this book on audio because I'll be continuing the series in audio because I started it in audio. And as long as they keep the same narrator, I'll be good to go for the next however many books there are. So, you know, let me know in the comments if you've read Halfway to the Grave, what you thought of it. If you have a link you'd like to post for your review, I'd like to check it out. So just leave that below. Let me know if you liked my video by giving me a thumbs up. And, you know, thanks for watching, and I hope you subscribe to my channel and you can see tons more book reviews and audiobook reviews, because I'll be doing one for every one of this series, because like I said, I started in audio, I'm going to finish it in audio. So until next time, happy reading and take care.